you know, either younger than us or, you know, passed and retired. So why not? You know, I want to challenge myself. The best always looking to fight the best and challenge themselves, you know, and why not, you know, challenge.
Terence Crawford can't beat him, right? This is a money grab for Terence Crawford. It's just a situation where Terence Crawford is trying to fill up his bank account opposed to actually his leg.
But if you study Floyd closely, like I have, you will notice that he never wastes any steps while he's in the ring.
Terence Crawford reportedly accepts Floyd Mayweather's fight offer during a live interview with Stephen A. Smith. Crawford explains that for him, boxing is about testing limits and embracing challenges no matter how big they seem. He emphasizes that the best should fight the best, and he is once again ready to step up. With calm confidence, Crawford makes it clear that facing Mayweather is another way for him to prove himself and push past every expectation.
Because this is Terence the businessman talking, right? They got to pay the cheddar to make it better, right?
For sure, for sure. All money ain't good money, so you got to know that.
Okay, fair enough. I hate to use the word easy, but at times it did feel like you were, you know, having a really easy time out there. Were you expecting it to play out that way?
Listen, it's never easy, you know.
Stephen A. Smith has never shied away from strong opinions in sports, and boxing is no exception. When he praises Terence Crawford for becoming a champion in 4 different weight classes, it's more than a compliment, it's an acknowledgement of a rare achievement in modern boxing. In today's era, where fighters often hesitate to move divisions because of the risk, Crawford's dominance across 4 weight classes places him in an exclusive category. Stephen A. stresses that such versatility and dominance make Crawford an all-time great pound-for-pound fighter. It reflects not only his physical adaptability, but also his technical brilliance, mental toughness, and drive to keep testing himself against tougher and tougher opponents.
Terence Crawford is the best fighter on the planet. Pound for pound, he's that dude. In this 4-belt era, he is now the undisputed world champion 3 times over. 140 pounds, 147, now 168 pounds, claiming all the belts. You don't see people doing that very often. Going up against a guy who was perceived as being bigger and stronger, Crawford was strong. Crawford was strong enough to fend him off, strong enough to make him respect his own power. He used his jab, he used his distance. He had poise in the ring, he wasn't rattled. He backed up and moved when necessary and kept us different. He exchanged enough to gain respect when necessary. It was a brilliant, brilliant, masterful fight on Terence Crawford.
Roy Jones Jr., a legend who knows exactly what it takes to rule across divisions, has also spoken highly of Crawford's brilliance. He points out that in Crawford's fight with Canelo Alvarez, he displayed the ability to borrow from the arsenals of Floyd Mayweather and Erislandy Lara, to men who gave Canelo serious problems in the past. According to Jones, this skill to study, adapt, and then execute effective strategies is what makes Crawford different. It proves that he's not just a gifted fighter, but also a sharp student of the game. What impressed Jones most was that Crawford didn't simply copy those techniques, he absorbed them, adjusted them to his own rhythm, and made them even more effective in real time.
As Canelo Alvarez has been a great fighter his whole career, people like Erislandy Lara gave you the blueprint on how to beat him. People like Floyd Mayweather also gave you the blueprint on how to beat him. But Bud is more fierce, more fearsome, and more angrier, and more meaner than both of those guys. So you know if they showed you the blueprint, Bud gonna go out there, take that blueprint and do even more with it, which is what Bud did. So it was never a question in my mind whether Bud really was going to outbox me, just if he could take the punch. And right away he showed, bam, he could take the punch. So I knew from that point, if he just slow him down, which he did, he'd be okay. Then late in the fight, what other people still didn't see, late in the fight, Bud started hitting Canelo's body. One of those body shots, I think about the 7th or 8th round, hurt Canelo. I was like, whoa. Bud hit him in the right spot then, and he got Canelo's respect with that too. So Bud fought a very, very awesome fight, fought a beautiful fight, very tactical.
Very controlled.
Yes, it was a beautiful fight for boxing.
It was a beautiful fight. You know, Bud got hit with some shots.
He did. He did.
He got hit with some single shots going out.
you know, he's going out and you know Canelo, if he has you trapped in the corner or along the ropes, it's typically 1 to 2 big shots. You know that if you've watched him.
Yep.
So you could tell Crawford, as he was going out, he knew the one shot was coming, and several times it landed. He even got hit with a 2-piece. I don't remember what round it was, uppercut right hand that Crawford took well. So when you started seeing him absorb the shots, if you're Team Crawford, you don't want him to take that shot. But if you started seeing that, now you know that, okay. And I think that's what gave Crawford the green light to stay there a little bit long.
He smiled about it.
He smiled about it.
Yeah.
And sometimes that smile can be a lie. And sometimes that smile can mean what I think it meant for Crawford, which is, oh.
This adaptability is what separates him from so many fighters who rely on one style and falter against elite competition. The idea of Crawford stepping into the ring with Floyd Mayweather even in an exhibition has sparked heated debate. Critics argue that such a fight could cheapen Crawford's legacy. They believe that instead of building on his historic triumphs, such as dismantling Errol Spence and outclassing Canelo, he'd be chasing financial rewards instead of true competitive greatness. This concern comes from Mayweather's recent track record of high-paying exhibitions rather than meaningful legacy fights. Analysts warn that Crawford has worked too hard to risk being seen as prioritizing money over history. On the other hand, many argue that Crawford's legacy is already untouchable, and if he chooses to fight Mayweather, it would simply add another intriguing chapter to his story.
Terence Crawford. It's just a situation where Terence Crawford is trying to fill up his bank account opposed to actually his legacy. This is what was being said, right? This is what people perceived. Terence Crawford was just attempting to cash out.
When fans compare the careers of Mayweather and Crawford, the debate becomes complicated. Floyd's resume includes wins against some of the sport's biggest names, but critics point to the timing of those victories. Canelo was still young and green when he faced Mayweather, and Pacquiao entered their 2015 showdown carrying an injury. Floyd's reluctance to grant rematches, especially with Pacquiao, left lingering questions for many fans. By contrast, Crawford's dominance has come against opponents at or near their peak when facing him. That contrast fuels ongoing debates about whether Mayweather's perfection was purely a matter of skill or also the product of careful timing and matchmaking.
Floyd Mayweather is still greater than Terence Crawford. We need to really talk about this now. A lot of you guys are putting Crawford a bit too high. If you want to say Crawford could beat Floyd, I'm more open to that conversation, but when you're lining up the careers, I'm going to say Floyd every time. While they're both 5 division, Bud has become 3-time undisputed, but he's only fought 10 world champions to Floyd's 25 world champions. You can't take away the 5 division, 3-time undisputed. In terms of accolades, yeah, he probably gets the nod over Floyd. I say their accolades are about relative, considering Floyd Mayweather won Fighter of the Decade as well. But when you get to the resumes, Pacquiao, Oscar, Canelo, Cotto, Mosley, Castillo, Marquez, Zab, Gotti, Hatton, and Corley. It's probably way more people that this guy just didn't name. And then when you get to Bud's resume, not saying it's just bad, but the only names that's really worth mentioning is going to be Spence and Canelo. It's not a knock on Bud. Bud was not able to make those fights early on in his career. But I got to tell you guys what it is. Bud's resume just doesn't line up with Floyd's. Take their top 20 wins. Bud don't even got 20 wins to really sit here and name. Floyd got a good 20-something plus. Bud probably got about 10 wins that we could really sit here and name. Floyd's still greater than Bud in my opinion.
That's it for today's video. Stay tuned. Until next.